Broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studio inside Max 6 Workspace and the Conscious Capitalism Arizona headquarters in Tempe, Arizona, where we help business build and connect you with the right people. I'm your host and Phoenix Business Radio Ambassador, Kelly Lorenzen. On the show today, we have Austin Peterson with Backbone Financial. He's a certified financial planner professional. Welcome, Austin. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Josh Zolin, CEO of Windy City Equipment and Blue is the New White Incorporated. Thanks, Josh, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
I love the name. Husband and son are both named Josh, so we're in good company today.
Oh, very good. Smart people.
Welcome, both of you, to the show. We're here to hear about your businesses and what you're working on in the community. So, Austin, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, certified financial planner professional. Backbone Financial is the name of the firm. And we're based in Scottsdale, near Old Town, Fashion Square. And our focus is working with business owners for their comprehensive financial planning needs. So been doing this for about 20 years. It's something that was kind of born and bred in me. I learned in ninth grade that this is something that I wanted to be involved in. Up until that point, I thought I wanted to go to law school. And then I took an entrepreneurship and stock market class as an elective and realized that there was something more than just law school for me, and was, kind of changed my life in ninth grade. So
wow, cool. That early.
Yeah.
What a cool elective you can take in ninth grade. Why don't they have that now, right? In the high schools? Why aren't they teaching entrepreneurship in the high schools? Maybe they are, but probably
I'm
not.
Sure it's an option,
enough.
But yeah. And back then, I mean, think about it. The internet didn't exist. So
right.
We were researching stocks from the newspaper and whatever we could find in the library rather than just Googling the stock and deciding that we wanted to buy an individual stock at that point.
Don't give away your age, buddy. You're on the radio now, too.
I've got the face for radio too, so it's all right.
That's all right. And how did you get into the business? You decided it back then, and then how did you go from there?
Yeah, so initially it was just joining a firm in Southern California and getting my start there. And it was, if you've seen the movie Boiler Room, it really was like that. I mean, they handed you a desk and a phone and said, start dialing and call your friends and family and start asking for referrals and try to build from there. So it was a rough start to the career, especially the fact that I was 23 years old. And when you're talking to people in their 60s, for example, and asking them to trust you with their hard-earned money that they've earned over their entire lifetimes, it's tough to start at age 23. But I've been able to hold on, so to speak.
That's great. And we always talk about what we do, but behind it is the why, right? Why do you do what you do?
Yeah, I would say the biggest why for me is the fact that I grew up in a family that didn't have a whole lot financially. And so my grandparents were farmers, and then my father was a general contractor, or a stucco contractor. So he worked in the construction industry, and he was self-employed, but didn't build a large organization, didn't make a whole lot of money, is now retired, but isn't doing great financially. And I thought, you know what, this is something that I need to get involved in and help a lot of these small business owners, because they truly are, and this is where the name came from, they truly are the backbone of our American economy, but they're underserved, right? So a lot of business owners build their businesses their entire lives. And if you ask them, 80% of business owners are going to tell you that is their retirement plan, but they don't have a plan for how they're going to actually monetize that business when it comes time to actually retire. And my dad found himself in that position and didn't really have an option to sell a business, and was winding down around 2008, which wasn't a great time for the real estate industry as a whole. And so, he's now just kind of holding on throughout retirement. And I figured, you know what, this is something I need to be involved in and help these people who truly need the help.
That's so great. So would you say that's your main clientele, is the business owner, small business owner? Yeah,
business owners is my niche. I have some retired teachers and administrators as well. So I would say that's another niche, but the main focus is on business owners.
It's nice. It's nice when you come from a background, that you get it, and
Yeah.
I have entrepreneurial parents as well, and we kind of get it. So it's nice you have somebody, to help those that we wished we would have been able to help our parents, right? But now at least we can help the future generations.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, growing up in a family that owned their own business and then owning my own business now, I truly do understand the difficulties and the pains in building a business that these business owners have gone through. And now they're successful and have some money, but they still need to plan for the future and make sure that they have an ability to be financially independent when it's time to hang it up, so to speak.
Right. And I bet you work with a lot of experts in selling businesses, business brokers, I assume, and real estate professionals and everybody to kind of collaborate, right, to figure out what to do for them.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, it's working with them to prepare for that exit, but also do it in the most tax efficient manner, make sure that they're doing everything they can to maximize the value of their business so that they truly are ready to cross that threshold on their own terms. And some don't want to walk away completely, and that's fine too. But it's really about being financially independent so that you can work if you want to, but you don't have to be able to sustain your family. And that the business doesn't suffer because it needs to continue to pay you, but maybe your kids, for example, have come into the business and are trying to build that business and take money from it today, but money's continuing to go to dad or mom. And it makes it harder to grow the business in the future if you didn't plan for something outside of the actual business.
Yeah. It's what a nice thing. Josh, you also own a business. Tell us a little bit about your business.
I do. So I'm the CEO of Windy City Equipment Service, WCE for short, mainly because we kept getting calls from Chicago asking us to run service, and we can't do that from Phoenix. So my dad started the company back in 2003, and I had the privilege of joining him in, I believe it was 2008. So before that, to give a little bit of context, I was in California as a stuntman for the film industry. That always gets me some funny looks. Like, what do you what? So yes, I went from being lit on fire to putting them out.
There you go.
And that's what WCE does, is commercial facilities maintenance. So we focus on HVAC, refrigeration, and cooking equipment only for commercial facilities. I've been blessed to have a great relationship with my dad through the years, great working relationship. He taught me the ropes from the very beginning as far as turning wrenches and how to actually perform what we do. So when I came on, it was just me and him. And then we started to build the business up a little bit. Fast forward to today, we have almost 50 employees and 3 branches over 2 states. Houston, Texas, a branch in Phoenix, Arizona, obviously, and a branch in Tucson, Arizona. And that's our focus. Through that journey, it led me to discover the value in working with your hands, in learning a trade, and the opportunities that exist in this industry that not many people know about. So once I understood that, I started to do a little bit of research on it. And when I couldn't find much about it, I decided, well, geez, somebody should probably write a book about this. And so I did. It was published last May, and it's called Blue is the New White. Basically explains all the opportunities that exist in the skilled trade industries that are very, very lucrative. So, anything from HVAC technician to auto mechanic to, any other business or profession in the skilled trades. And it's become my objective since then to really get the word out to the younger generation, because if we're being honest, this industry isn't the sexiest industry in the world,
right.
Especially compared to what kids want to do nowadays.
I know.
But unfortunately, over the years, because of that trend, I won't get into colleges just yet, but because of that trend, it's been more difficult these days to find worthy technicians, good technicians, because it's a dying profession. I always say it's a growing industry, but it's a dying profession.
And it's so sad because we need them. We were talking off air earlier. We need those trades. Who's going to work on our cars? Who's going to come wire our houses, right? I mean, we need all those. So good for you to write a book about it. So tell us a little bit about the book.
Sure. So basically, I wanted to write the book for two demographics. The main demographic being high school students, around that age, or young people. And so I wanted to write it in the tone that would relate to them. But I also wanted to include enough information in the book so that parents and educators could see it and use it as a resource to learn themselves the opportunities that exist. And so they can pass that information along to, the young people that they influence. So it's walking a tight line, because when you're trying to relate to young people, but also communicate to, people that are already, set in their ways and who influence these kids, it's tough to walk. But that's the objective. It goes into all the trades that are available. It goes into basically comparing a career in the trades to a college education, what that means, and where somebody could be, where they be better suited for the skilled trades rather than college, if that's what they so choose, and basically just all the benefits that surround the industry that we're never taught when we're in high school.
I know. Isn't that so sad? Luckily, here in Arizona, there's East Valley Institute of Technology, right? EVIT is a great resource and not many people, I mean, I've been here my whole life. I'm a native. And not many people know that exists for high school students who want to learn a trade. Oh my gosh. Everybody needs to know about that, right? Yeah. And have the resources like your book, and have people to talk to like you. And my husband's electrical contractor, been for his whole life. He cannot find help. Mm-hmm. He can't, I'm sure with you guys, with your company, cannot find good help anymore because nobody wants to go into it, because they think, or because of the way they thought is, in the old days, right? It was blue collar work or whatever, but it's not that anymore. I mean, we look at the economy, it's growing like crazy. They're building houses like crazy, and commercial buildings, and they can't find the skilled trade to build them. So we're going to be up a creek, right?
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand the major economic impact that it has, because, I mean, and it's simple when you break it down, right? I mean, we can't find the skilled labor that we need. So the skilled labor that we have to pay a lot more. And once we're paying that labor a lot more, how do we compensate that from a business standpoint? We have to raise our prices. So, and who feels the repercussions of us raising our prices? Obviously, it's the end
consumer,
user, the
right?
Consumer. So it's a growing problem that thankfully is coming a little bit more to light as of late, but still nowhere near where we need it to be to actually solve the problem.
Yeah. And to have the advocates, right? So all of us can be advocates as entrepreneurs, as small business owners. We can say, hey, there's so many different ways you can be a small business owner, right? And there's millions if you think about it. But what they're teaching in, maybe in the media, or like you said, in schools, maybe they're only talking about tech. Maybe they're only talking about, you can be a lawyer, a financial advisor, you can be a doctor, right? But they're not saying, hey, guess what? We need somebody to work on our cars, and we need somebody. You can own a mechanic shop. You can own an electrical contracting business, like my husband's done for 15, 20, I don't think it's been 25, something like that years. It's like you can do all these things. And if we all are talking about it, the more people will think about it, right? And then they're telling their kids. And I mean, we are giving that as an option for our kids too. Like, you can go into a trade, you can do anything you want to do in life, right? I mean, we need all those.
We need them, and we need people to realize that it's not less than a white collar type job.
Right.
I'm the only one that's involved in, or that went to college in my family. All my brothers are working in blue collar jobs, and they all do very well.
Right.
Everything's just fine. My dad made a living at it. It wasn't a huge, great living, but that was, it was fine for him. But we just have to get rid of this stigma.
Yes.
And the reality is, in my practice, I'll be honest with you, the wealthiest people that I work with as clients own blue collar jobs, or blue collar companies, I should say.
Right.
And so there's a lot of money to be made out there in the blue collar or the skilled trades industries. And we need our schools, and I know Josh agrees with me here, we need our schools to let our kids know it's okay to want to work in a skilled trade rather than go to college. There are trade schools and there are certain things that you may want to do, but it's okay and you can make a great living doing that. You don't have to all go the same route and go to college, and it's the only way to make a good living in this world.
Right. And to have the parents be telling the kids and the mentors be telling, younger generations, all of these things, so that we're all on the same page, that we need those. Can't just go into tech, or
right.
You can't just be a professional coach, right? We need to, there has to be those people and these kids. I think the kids, at least in, my son's 14 and 9 and my daughter's 9, like, I think they will start to be hard workers. We're training them as X and Y's, right? Like, be hard workers. You can do anything you want to do. And I think that'll come around, but it's going to take all of us talking about it, right? Constantly
Absolutely.
talking about it.
Yeah, that's the key is just letting them know, letting them know that there's not one measure of success, which is a college degree. Look, and I have nothing against college personally. I have everything against the idea that if you want to be successful, you absolutely have to have a college degree. And that's the narrative that we hear today, right? That's the narrative that I heard when I was in high school. That's the narrative that most kids did. I was in the counselor's office my senior year, once a month, because I was very vocal about how I wasn't going to go to college. And, he basically told me that I was throwing my life away and what was I going to do? And, this and that. And the thing is, no one had once mentioned to me what the skilled trades were, what the opportunities in that sector was. I had no idea. I didn't know what HVAC was till I was like 20,
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't so evident then because I just didn't know, but it's so evident now because of the position that I'm in. And that's actually how me and Austin met. I got to know his background and, so we got to talking and, it was just amazing to hear his side of the story too. Like he just said, his whole family's in the blue collar industry and they do very well, and also the businesses that he represents, the people that he represents, being some of the most successful people in his portfolio. This information is fact. It's here, right? It's true, but who knows? Who knows about it?
Nobody. Yeah. Nobody's talking about it, right? Nobody. Hopefully we can all start here, right? Start on this show and let everybody know that we need to talk about the trades. Tell us the name of your book one more time.
It's called Blue is the New White, The Best Path to Success That No One Told You About Until Now.
And where can people buy it?
It's on Amazon. You can also find it on blueisthenewwhite.com, which is also where my podcast is, talking all about this. So great. So tell us who you guys do refrigeration, HVAC for commercial facilities. So tell us some of your favorite clients to work with. I take care of, I'm not going to mention any actual names, but some of the clients that I take care of are basically well-known chain restaurants. We do a lot of well-known chain restaurants, fast casual, fast food, that kind of thing. Usually they expand over state lines or their national accounts. Obviously, we can only service the ones that we take care of in the areas that we're at. But I got to say, the relationship that we have with those customers is what led us to the growth that we've seen. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but the last 2 years running, we've been on the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Thank you. But the only reason I bring that up is because in this industry, and again, going back to, blue collar and everything else, one of the benefits is the relationships that you develop. And one of those relationships is the ones you develop with your customers. And we've been very blessed to have wonderful relationships with very prominent companies in the area, national companies and things like that. So these relationships are what's fueling our company's growth. And I think Austin's probably the same way, heavy on relationships. I've gotten to know him pretty well over the last couple months now.
Yeah, it is. It makes a big difference. I think a lot of us entrepreneurs, that's how we get all of our referrals, right? Is through our relationships, and then the customer service is what keeps them, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Referrals is the number one for me in my business for sure, but a close second nowadays is actually LinkedIn. social media and client acquisition through different social media channels. And that's actually how Josh and I met initially was via LinkedIn, and we connected and exchanged a few messages, and then ultimately he invited me to be on the podcast, and then realized he wouldn't mind working with me as a financial planner. So
relationships.
yeah.
That's right. Well, we live in an Amazon world, right? So reviews online, social media, online, having those reviews, having those testimonials, having our customers tell how great we are to everybody else. But then it's the building of the relationship after that. So you're not going to want to do business with anybody you don't like, know, or trust, right? I tell everybody that,
Right.
So it's a good. We have to start with our online presence and our online brand. I teach everybody that. But then you have to follow up. What's the follow-up, right? Are you providing good customer service? Are you doing a good job? Are you who you say you are online?
Right.
Do you follow up with that? And okay, great. You say you help small businesses, but do you actually, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We can all talk about this, but and have that presence online. But then when you get to know somebody it's still about face to face, right? I mean, at the end of the day,
No doubt.
we build our client base through face to face, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I think if I just showed up and Josh and I met and got to know each other, and then I sold him a product and he never heard from me again, that he's not going to be my client in 10 years.
Exactly.
Right? And unfortunately, too many people in my industry, that's what they do. They're selling products and they're not actually doing planning. I joke with the employees at Josh's company, because I've been there so many times in the last few months, that they're going to start to think I actually work there. I walk in and they're like, oh, he's here again? So.
But that's good. You're
Yeah.
providing a better quality service than most people in your industry probably don't do, showing up at their, place of business. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah. I try to use that as a differentiator, right? First, the planning process and the things that I do different than most people who call themselves financial planners. But then it truly is. It's the customer experience after that, the service, and making sure that Josh has plans and all of my clients have plans. And I've got to be there with them throughout the years to help them accomplish those plans.
Absolutely. Seeing them through, holding them accountable, right?
Right.
Hey, we talked about this. This is on your goal list. This is what it looks like at the end. If, at the end of the rainbow, if you want that pot
Right.
of gold, we've got to get there. So you've got to have somebody that knows that you can get there, and then to hold you accountable, but to help you along the way, right? To be there. I mean, if you see your financial advisor once every 10 years, this is no good. I mean,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Right.
You're in big trouble.
Yeah,
Wait, this
exactly.
isn't set it and forget it?
Yeah, no. It's not like setting your daily alarm and knowing that you're getting up at the same time every day.
So business owners, tell us something that business owners should know, maybe a myth that we think, we have to have a certain amount of money before we can talk to a financial advisor, or something that business owners overlook.
I think the first thing that I would say about that gets overlooked by business owners is the actual planning process, right? They're not taking the time to slow down enough from working on or building their business to realize that they have to plan for their own future, right? And I mentioned a little earlier, the statistics show that 80% of business owners say that their retirement plan is their business, but they don't have a plan for how to turn that into money later, right? And financial independence later. And they also don't know, 98% of business owners don't know what their business is worth. So how can that be your retirement plan if you don't even know what it's worth, and if it's going to be enough for you to be able to transition to that retirement portion of your life? And so, and retirement, I actually don't talk about retirement much anymore at all. It's really about financial independence, because a lot of people don't want to retire at all. I mean, Josh's dad is one of them who doesn't really want to retire. He said to me the other day, he said, all my friends are here. So what am I going to do? Yeah, exactly. What am I going to do? And so it's not really about retirement so much. It's about being financially independent to do whatever you want to do when you want to do it, without having to worry about where the money for that is coming from. And so, it's really about making sure that they understand what they need to plan for, protect what they have today, and then plan for the future, right? And everybody's different. Some of the business owners, of course, want to plan for college education for their kids. Some of them want to plan to succeed the business to the next generation. Some of it's an outside seller. So every plan is different. And the reality is everybody should have a written financial plan. And that gets missed so much. It's about, this is what we're trying to accomplish. But if it's not in writing and you don't have a plan to follow, then what is your plan really? And it doesn't have to be a binder. For Josh's dad, it was a binder with printed paper. For Josh, it's an electronic plan that we can update, at any time. But that written plan gets missed an awful lot by people who are out there calling themselves financial planners or financial advisors that really aren't going through that planning process with their clients.
It's a huge deal, right? Just like I do strategic planning for business development. It's the same thing, right? Yeah. And I know there's stats on this, I just don't know what they are, pull them out of my hat. But the more you write stuff down, the more it comes to reality, right? I mean, that goes for creating your vision board for the year, creating your long-term, your 1-year goals, your 5-year goals, all of that stuff. By writing it down, there's some huge stats that say if you write it down, the more likely it is to come true,
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for you to walk them through the financial part of it and say, okay, there's your goal, how, and having that written documentation of how to get there, I'm sure it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I can attest to that too, because from my standpoint as a business owner, there's a couple of things that come to mind, and it's just glaring. Number one, you rarely have time to think about that, right? And because you have so much else on your plate from every which way. And the second thing is you don't want to think about it, because a lot of it has to do with succession and death and, what happens in that event. And, so it's not a pleasant thought, number one, and you don't have time, number two. So it's very easily just pushed aside. And not given a second thought until it's too late, and I know I didn't want to be in that position, which is ultimately what led me to partner with Austin. But yeah, as a business owner, I'm sure there's millions of them out there that are in the same exact position, big and small, that just don't do it, until it's too late.
They stick their head in the sand, right? Yeah. They either don't have time, right? They're growing too fast, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But they have to have the plan in place, and they have to have the partners in place, right? So they have to have people in there. I say that we got to have our circles, right? We've got to have our people, our board of directors, our personal board of directors. Who are we going to call? Who's our real estate professional? Who's our financial planner? Who's our lawyer? Everybody needs an accountant, a financial advisor, a counselor, and a lawyer, right?
Right. And we won't decide which order those need to be in.
That's right. That's right. But it's true that we have to keep our people close so that in an event something changes. That's the other thing is some financial planners or stockbrokers will make your plan for 20, 30 years from now. You know how much can change in that amount of time.
Right.
And if you're not meeting with people on a regular basis, reading with a financial advisor, I'm sure that they go, oh, wait, that plan was good 10 years ago, but it's certainly not going to help us now.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I see it all the time, whether it's you went through a divorce and you didn't update the beneficiaries on all of your accounts, or you had another child, or you bought another property. There's so many things that change, or you've got children, some are in the business, some are not in the business. And how do we make sure that it's equal or fair, between the kids and what is fair, and making sure that we plan for it. I mean, just so many things change all the time. It has to be updated all the time, and you need to be in constant contact with your financial planner, your attorney, all those types of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of plans, what's your plan for the business, Josh, for this current business and your book? What's the upcoming plans?
Oh, geez.
Okay. Put you on the spot.
Yeah, no. This usually, makes me go off on a tangent because I get so excited. So I'm very passionate about what I do. One of my biggest passions is building a business. And I learned that by doing the skill trade. I learned that because when I would fix something, I would get so excited, right? So this business right now, I'm still young enough to where, I can kind of take the bull by the horns and point it in any direction that we choose. And I'm blessed to have a wonderful leadership team over there, that has done a remarkable job. So we basically, a few years ago, put the pedal to the metal and have no plans on slowing down. So we opened in Houston, Texas last year. We're opening in Albuquerque, New Mexico this year, and possibly Dallas, Texas this year as well. I believe in our 10-year plan is we want to be in 25 markets.
Wow, that's huge growth. Huge growth.
Trying.
That's so exciting though for you and for your dad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's so supportive. When I came on, it was just him, and he really thought it was just going to be him until it was time for him to retire. But I knew that if it was just him, he probably wouldn't retire, and he'd be turning wrenches, well into his 70s, and I didn't want to see that. So, once I learned the ropes, and I had no easy road. Let me tell you that right now. Coming into the business, it's not like I was handed anything. I had to learn from the ground up and do it the right way, which I appreciate. Him taking that route. Personally, and my passion project, Blue is the New White. My plans for that are to go around the country and continue to speak at schools, events, conferences, things like that about this topic. Try to get the word out as much as possible. I recently started a marketing campaign to high schools across the country. So I've been selling books to high schools so they can distribute them to their students, which is obviously just one of many steps. And I've got a speaking. I just got back from Miami not long ago. I spoke at a conference there about the skilled trades. And then I'll be headed out to Denver, Colorado in 2 weeks at RIFMA, Regional Facility Manager Association conference, annual conference there. So I'll be talking there, and then a conference in Chicago at the end of March. It's a service company, largest service company in the world that's comprised of several other smaller service companies, and all of their executives are going to be there. They hired me to talk about how do we get people interested in this line of work. So, and then I believe there's a tentative one in Dallas, Texas at the end of September, same type of thing. So, gaining some traction there, but I anticipate, in addition to running Windy City Equipment, making time to make sure I spread the word about, the blue collar trades.
That's so great. We all have to do something that we're passionate about, right? I mean, that's what drives us as entrepreneurs. And then we all have our philanthropy stuff that we want to do.
Absolutely.
Tell us what you're doing, Austin, these days. What's your plan for the business, for your passion projects?
Yeah. So for us, it's slower growth. We're a smaller firm. At this point, it's myself and 2 assistants. One of them happens to be on maternity leave right now. So there's a little extra work for the other one at this point. But it's just serving business owners. So the main markets for me are Phoenix, Arizona, and Salt Lake City, Utah. But I am licensed in several other states and have clients in other states as well. And so it's kind of a slow growth. We're 20 years in and building a little bit different type of a business than Josh is. So our plans for growth are pretty minimal. I do have a son that's he's doing some missionary work in Denmark right now. He'll be back in December, and then he'll go back to ASU. But the plan is probably for him to start working for me part-time and learn the business. He's showing some interest in what he used to think was the most boring job in the world. couldn't figure out why Dad would want to do what he does.
He doesn't want to do that. Send him my way. I got some work.
That's right.
Exactly. But he's become more interested in it. So he's actually at the journalism school, the Cronkite School at ASU, wants to be a sports journalist, but is kind of thinking maybe he wants to do what I'm doing instead. So we'll see. On the philanthropy side or the volunteer side, so I'm an O-negative blood donor. And so, I have O-negative blood. And so I donate blood on a regular basis. I think there's always a shortage of that. So I spend some time there. But then I'm also on the advisory council for the Brain Injury Alliance of Arizona, which is an important charity or nonprofit for me. I have a brother that was thrown from a vehicle in a rollover accident and had a traumatic brain injury. And then my daughter suffered 2 concussions in the last 6 months. And so for me, it's something that's close to home, and it's an organization that I truly believe in here locally that does a lot of good in the community.
That's great. And you serve on their board of directors?
Yeah, on their advisory board.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
And your daughter suffered concussions from?
So she's on the dive team at Highland High School in Gilbert, and she over-rotated and hit her face on the water, and the whiplash gave her a concussion for the first one. And then a couple months later, she made a bad decision and was in a mosh pit at one of the high school dances. So that one's on her. But the first one was, just her at practice and over-rotating, trying to learn a new dive. And so it's been tough to watch a straight A student that has been really a good student and school has been easy for her to now have a hard time focusing and concentrating and reading and comprehending and those sorts of things. So she just took the ACT and got the score back, and it's actually better than most, higher than average, but probably not as high as she would have before the concussion. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And it's bringing light to anything that is not talked about enough, right?
Yeah.
Or that needs to be talked about more is part of volunteering and donating and all of that.
Yep.
That's really neat. So tips and tricks, I always like to say, give us something that people may not know about your industries, a tip or a trick for all of our listeners, something, maybe a business owner wouldn't think of to do, or a trick that we can. Can you think of anything?
Go first, Josh?
You're gonna pitch this one to me?
Yeah.
you go first.
You're first.
All right, a tip or a trick for a business owner. Well, this one's a little drawn out, I guess, but hire the right people. Even in the blue collar industries, in the trades, it's more important than ever because there is a shortage, and it's very easy to find what we call warm bodies to put in trucks and to perform work, because it's just so hard. The businesses, a lot of the blue collar companies are growing faster than they can find the talent for. So they end up getting inexperienced people, that look, in this industry, if somebody is looking for work, there's probably a reason, and that's just the bottom line. So my advice would be, wait it out, find the right person, or train the person the right way. Because the companies are growing so fast, training is often overlooked, especially in this business. It just can't be that way because, number one, when people are buying a service, right, the people are the product. So there are not only hard skills that they need, being able to turn a wrench, in my specific industry and do the repair, but there's also soft skills, knowing how to talk to, the end user, the customer, knowing how to make them feel at ease, because at the end of the day, our customers are buying the experience they get when they call us. They're not buying a widget or a doodad or a flux capacitor. They're buying us as people. And if you have the wrong people in place, it's devastating for your reputation and for your business.
Absolutely. 100%. I 100% agree with that.
Hire slowly and fire quickly, as they say, right?
Uh-huh.
Or in the skilled trades, hire fast and fire fast.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. That's what probably most do. Josh, how about maybe something that if a parent was listening, right? We're talking about building the next generation.
Yeah.
What would be a benefit of learning a trade?
Oh my gosh. Okay, you're opening up a can of worms now. So obviously the biggest benefit is the wages. The wages in the skilled trades are unbelievable. And this part of it is coming more and more to light right now. But I mean, even in my industry, the technicians in HVAC, refrigeration, cooking equipment, it's not uncommon for them to make 6 figures a year as technicians, not even as management or anything else, just as technicians, $100,000 or more a year, to perform this kind of work. So the wages are definitely a big thing, but the wages only get people's attention, right? They don't keep people's attention. The biggest thing that I would say is that, I told you I do a podcast, and I talk to successful tradespeople from all over the country, all over the world, really. And everything gravitates back to helping people, because at the heart of it, that's what the skilled trades are. Not only do they manufacture the world as we see it today, but that world is manufactured to help everybody in it. And the younger generations, they want to help people. They have a strong desire to be a part of a community, to change the world, if you will, and what better way is there to change the world than to manufacture it? I mean, to really build it. And that's what I would say to parents and educators about how they can present the skilled trades as a viable option to students. Not a whole lot of other careers that you can make a ton of money and make the kind of difference that you can just turning wrenches.
So cool. You said it perfectly. We talk about that all the time in our family, right? My husband has a little tiny work truck, work van, and the kids were embarrassed. You're like, oh, don't let dad take us to school in the little tiny work van. I'm like, you have no idea that puts food on the table, right? That provides a home for you. Like, you don't understand. And he gets to turn on the lights. How cool is it that he's an electrical contractor. He gets to wire all the stuff and then turn from dark to light. I mean, it's a cool thing. And so I think the more that we can talk to the younger generations and the kids and to show them that you're helping people, that you get to do things that some people don't get to do, you get to help people.
Right. Or, if you want to turn on your phone to scroll through Instagram, you need an electrician for that. Right? Without electricity, you can't do that.
Instagram's going to get their attention. For
Snapchat.
Yeah, right?
But you're
TikTok,
right. Yeah. That's right. The younger generations, though, I do see that. I see them wanting to be a part of a community, wanting to help people, and being and having a trade and always being able to help people is a huge thing.
Absolutely.
So great. What about you, Austin? Tell us maybe a tip or a trick for other business owners.
Yeah, I guess to coin a phrase, I would start with failing to plan is planning to fail, right? You would never plan to fail in your business, and you're going to do everything that you can to make that business successful. But if you don't have a full plan to protect that business, to grow that business, and then exit that business at some point, right? There's going to be an exit at some point, whether you want it or not, right? But if you don't plan for that exit, for it to be what you want it to be, then you're really doing a disservice to yourself and to your family and to your future by not doing that. So I would say that's the biggest thing is take the time, slow down. It doesn't take as much time as you might think, right? Hire somebody who truly knows what they're doing, has the credentials to back up what they say they can do, and don't have a history of just selling product, but they're there to actually plan for you and help you put together that plan to follow. And just, take the time and realize how important it is. The other thing that I would say, just from a product standpoint, I guess, or something that gets missed an awful lot. So everybody talks about life insurance, and everybody needs life insurance, right? But what gets missed an awful lot, specifically with business owners, is disability insurance. There's a much greater likelihood that you're going to become disabled before you reach retirement than that you're going to die before you reach retirement. And the biggest asset that most business owners have is their ability to earn an income. Mm-hmm. And so if they're not protecting that ability to earn an income in one way, shape, or form, whether it's disability insurance or some other method that they put into the business to take care of that, then they're really doing themselves and their family a disservice.
It's huge. Most people think of, the same, we go back to what did we learn in school, right? You get life insurance and that's it. Yeah. But you're right, short-term, long-term, and disability. What's the difference between the two? Would you say, do you need both?
You should have both, right? I mean, it's in the name, the difference, short-term versus long-term. But short-term really just kind of covers you for the first 12 weeks typically. Oh. And then after that, then you switch to long-term disability. So, sometimes you just need the short-term. Sometimes it's just a car accident that puts you out of work for a few weeks and you're able to come back and be just fine. But other times it's a really bad car accident and you're never going to be the same, so to speak, unfortunately. So these are some of the things that Josh doesn't like to talk about that he mentions, right? We don't want to face these types of things, but it's an important part of our financial plan overall, right? We're hoping that none of it happens, but just like we carry auto insurance, now the state mandates that we carry auto insurance, but just because we carry auto insurance for just in case that auto accident happens, we carry life insurance and disability insurance and long-term care insurance for just in case, and then we hope that it doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And nobody thinks about, or they think, oh, I can't afford that. But if you imagine how much you're making, per month, and then if you're out 3 months or a year, that's right. That's a lot of money. You better be thinking about that ahead of time. Yep. And the succession plan about what's next, whether, like you said, a lot of these guys And people, they don't want to retire. They're like, I'm just going to work till I die, which is fine, except for what happens if I get sick? What happens if my right-hand person gets sick, right? So having insurance for not just you, but I'm sure you talk about, about the key people and having insurance for them.
Yep, exactly. It can decimate a business if you don't have, if that key person leaves or they get in an accident or they pass away, or and you don't have a contingency plan built for that, it can really cause a big problem for your business.
Why would you say your clients call you? What's the reason that they would call you in the first place, right? What is maybe a trigger, something that happens that they go, oh my gosh, I need a financial planner?
Yeah, there are several, I would say. Most common is death of a parent, death of a business partner, or disability, right, of a business partner or a parent, or that they just received their inheritance from their parents and it wasn't nearly as much as they thought it was going to be, or they realize, man, I need to do a better job of planning for my kids than my parents planned for. Or it could be that my parents are now forced to move in with me because they can't be financially independent in retirement, or mom needs care. So it's typically a triggering event like that. Or they just realize, you know what, my business is growing pretty rapidly. I'm earning more money than I need, but I don't think that I'm being as smart with my money as I should be. I probably should hire a professional to help me with this.
Great. And what about you? You say refrigeration, HVAC. So for people that don't even know, right? If they own a restaurant, or what other commercial facilities are you thinking that people would call you for? An example, I mean.
Restaurants are our number one. We also take care of a lot of retirement homes, nursing facilities, hospitals, stadiums, things like that. So really any commercial facility, now, especially in Arizona here, there's going to be a lot of commercial facilities that don't have, kitchen equipment or refrigeration even, but primarily HVAC. Obviously that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of places too that like commissaries and things like that, that have kitchens and refrigeration and things like that that we do. So really anything that has that.
It's exciting. And tell us any big goals you have. I know you're expanding and blowing up, Josh, with your speaking and your business. So big goals for the next year.
Well, this next year, our goals for Windy City Equipment are to open up in those two new markets, so Dallas and Albuquerque, and we're always hoping to establish bigger and better and more relationships. The more relationships, the better, and the more people I can convince to at least give us a shot, is really all it takes, because the proof is in the pudding, right? We have a very specific set of values that we've instilled in the entire company, and they resonate very well in this industry with our clients, with our relationships. And so that's always a goal, is to establish more and more relationships with the right people, the right companies. We like to partner with strong companies, and those who value what we do, because we value what they do.
Yeah.
So, and then as far as me personally, I like to say this. I like to speak, but I don't want to be a speaker. I'm not trying to change my career to be this guy who travels 360 out of 365 days a year. I've got 2 little girls at home and a wife, and I'm a homebody. I love being at home. I love spending time with them. I'll go where I'm needed because it is a passion of mine, but I don't always. It's not like I'm seeking out what's the next gig. I'm always approached, and so my goal is to just do as many of them as I can without impeding on what I'm already doing.
You talk about values. That's a huge thing. When I'm helping clients build a brand, is what are your values, right? Put them out there. Well, first of all, figure out what your values are, narrow them down to the top 5 or 6, and then put them out there, because you attract like-minded companies, you attract like-minded people, right? The more you are aligned with your values and you stick to those values, your clients, your employees, everybody can get on the same page, and what a amazing morale that builds, and the brand then, continues in the way you want it to continue based on those values.
Absolutely.
Very cool. What about you? Big goals for the year or the next couple?
In the next couple of years, the plan is to double the size of our practice in terms of revenue, not necessarily in terms of number of clients. And that may be just through client acquisition. It may be through acquiring somebody else's practice. There's the average age in my industry is actually about 56, 57. I'm in my mid 40s, so I'm about 10 years younger than the average. And so it gives me an opportunity to be looking at acquisition targets for other practices that are out there where guys have a similar practice to mine and their clients would easily fold into what I'm doing. So very picky in what I would do there, but that would be the idea. And then hopefully in the next few years, my son comes to work for me and we start to build the succession plan for him in the practice as time goes on.
Sounds good. Yeah. You have your plan in place, I hope, right?
Yeah, I'm not the cobbler without shoes, right?
That's right. We say, we need an electrician in this house to fix these lights, right? He doesn't have time for us.
Right.
That's right. We always have to follow what we preach, right?
Correct.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, both of you, for being on our show. We really appreciate it. Phoenix Business Radio X is always about building up each other, helping in the community, right? Collaborating with other businesses. So if there's anything you ever need, Phoenix Business Radio X is here for you. We appreciate you being on today.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from within the Max 6 and Conscious Capitalism Arizona Business Radio X studio. Some media leans left, some lean right. We lean business. Until next time, this is Kelly Lorenzen. Thank you for listening.
Austin L. Peterson is a registered representative of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation. Securities and investment advisory services offered through Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation, a broker-dealer, member SIPC, and registered investment advisor. Insurance offered through Lincoln Marketing and Insurance Agency, LLC, and Lincoln Associates Insurance Agency, Incorporated, and other fine companies. Backbone Financial is a marketing name for business conducted through Lincoln Financial Advisors Corporation.